Welcome to day 5 of our solo build battle series, where I roll a random generator, give ourselves about 20 minutes or so to build whatever the theme is, and then, you guys get a vote in the comments whether you think it's a W or an L. So let's find out what our theme is today. So of course we got to roll only one idea, and it was air balloons, which I thought was interesting. We've done a few of those on Hypixel build battles before, but this time I wanted to, be a little bit more precise and delicate with it than I usually am able to on Hypixel. And I wanted to create like a bit more complicated of a base than we usually do. We usually just do some kind of like square with maybe a little bit of a taper on it. But I was just out here trying to practice my architectural skills and see what I could get accomplished with like slightly more detail, a little bit more ingenuity and creativity, something I've never really built before. So we used that, we used some dark oak and some spruce, and then we used the dark oak fences to kind of build up the ropes. And kind of like a structure at the top that would hold the balloon to the ropes, because it doesn't make sense for them to be directly attached. I don't know. That's just how I went in my head. And then building the balloon, honestly, it wasn't too difficult. It was a bit like repetitive, just kind of building layers on layers, kind of building it outwards. But once I did finish kind of like the base layer of the first balloon, it did look a little bit off to me. So it was a little bit more complicated than I initially expected. We actually went through a few passes trying to get the air balloon to look, any kind of reasonable. It was like way too skinny and tall. I think it's because that 1-3 block layer right there kind of really stretched it out a whole bunch. So we did end up having to go back in a few times and kind of fixing it, stretching it out a little bit to make it a bit more wide rather than tall, because it did end up looking a little bit weird when it was too stretched out, as you guys can kind of see here before I start fixing everything. We did add some fences around just to give it like some more support and color around the edges, but from this angle you can really see how stretched out and tall it is. So that's where we spent most of our time kind of building it out, those kind of like 3 and 4 block long sections, which you can see I'm kind of elongating here, but that's only because I'm going to add some more in the middle as well to kind of create a second layer, or separate layer rather. Right there, as you can see, I did another 3 long layer, and then I kind of go through a few more times just to kind of keep building it out, but I ended up being pretty happy with how it looked. I think the shape of the air balloon was pretty nice, and I think it was reasonably accurate to real life. The end that I did right there, where I kind of built out an extra cross on the edges, kind of made it look a little bit too square in my opinion. I'm not sure if you guys can see what I'm seeing, but then I went back in and fixed that slightly as well. The shape wasn't perfect. I wasn't entirely happy with it, but all things considered, the first balloon went pretty well. But our theme was air balloons, not air balloons, so of course we had to make a second one. So I wanted to make a slightly smaller one just because I didn't want to spend the amount of time I spent on the first one again. So we kind of went for another really interesting shape here. I used some stairs kind of upside down around the edges to create, just a more interesting look. I'm just practicing different materials that I could use, different styles of building. And of course I added a little bit of lights to the bottom just to give it some more flair and fun to it. And I started building up the balloon in a similar manner that I built the first one, but I really wanted this one to be taller and smaller than the first one. It ended up getting a little bit wide over there, as you can see in the background, a little bit goofy looking. But I used some gray for this one just to, spruce it up, give it a little bit of a different feeling than the first one. And as you can see, I'm using kind of the same method with the kind of 1 block down and then 1 block out, going up and around, and then I just created like the same shape going up and then kind of inverted it without going all the way to the top, as you can see in just a second here. I tried adding another layer but then decided that it was a little bit too wide, so I got rid of those and then just built it up from where it was, and then started going in as well. There's not much to talk about when it comes to these balloons. They're pretty much just the same pattern, up and up and up, except for when you get to the top, then you kind of want to flatten it out, because a pointy balloon doesn't make a whole lot of sense either, which you can see right there, it did, and then erased immediately. This one, I think I like the first one a little bit better just because of the size and the scale of it. This one was cute, but it was a little bit too small for my liking. The balloon looked more like a balloon you would see at a birthday party rather than lifting up an entire hot air balloon. But I added a little bit of cross at the end just to give it some more color. Maybe it's like a crusade kind of thing. But all things considered, I'm very happy with how the build turned out. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.